Hello, my name is Ken Marchione. I'm Chair of Academic Affairs and a Professor of Drawing and Painting. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about art and design education as a major. Now, first of all, thank you for taking this consideration as it being a pursuit for your career. I, quite frankly and honestly think art and design education major may be one of the most important majors that is out there today. And I will talk a little bit about that as we get along further. But first I want to talk to you a little bit about Pratt's philosophy about art education. And I think this is the most interesting component of why anyone would want to pursue art and design education at Pratt. Because they believe in a fundamental way that the artist educator is also the artist. That your career or your pursuits while you're attaining your education will be not only to learn how to educate primary and secondary schools in developing their art skills, but you'll also be working as an artist. Because as an artist, you're going to show that passion, that commitment that is necessary to be a great mentor to students that have promise. Now, when you become an art and design major and following that philosophy, you'll have the opportunity to have a focus. And while you're in that focus, which could be photography, painting, drawing, communication, jewelry, printmaking, or sculpture, you'll also be taking classes in art and design education. In our school, we offer, which you'd only be in your freshman and sophomore year, you start your freshman year off in the foundation courses, which would be consistent with the other classes going through the school, with a small exception of photography, which has slight derivation. But when you go into your sophomore year is when you'll start to become, focus on your major. And on our campus, you'll have two classes that specifically address art and design education. The first class, which you take in the fall semester, is called Youth in the City. And that class works to teach you about working with different races, different ethnicities, different cultural, socioeconomic differences that you'll run into in a public school setting or just in any setting today that might have a diverse population. The great thing about studying that component here in Utica is that Utica has a long history as a refugee city, a city where refugees are acclimated to sort of the American way of life. And so in the city of Utica, right now currently, I think they have said there are 43 different languages being spoken, which is also consistent with our high school. So it's a very strong, diverse city where that kind of class would be very effective. The second class that you take, which would be in the spring semester, is called Studio to Classroom. In that you start to learn about different techniques, different media approaches to teaching students how to use. Now you may know how to use them in your personal practice or your personal way of working, but there is always some adjustment in translating that to students who may just be getting a start and learning how to use these methods, or translating them into a simpler form so students understand the concept of working in that kind of particular media. In both instances, you will be working with the Utica school system. And after an introductory period in the classroom where you talk about what you're going to be teaching or learning, you will have the opportunity to go into the classrooms of the Utica school system and participate with students in the program. We live in a society today that is increasingly divided and hostile to notion that others may have different ideas other than their own. And I don't think it is a coincidence that in the closing and that we are closing in on a protracted length of time, probably over 50 years, of diminished emphasis in the importance of the arts in public education. I have, listened to too many news stories, and I'm sure you have as well. But at a certain point, you start to, hear a redundancy in the same issues, the same things that are dividing us, and then you hear the same solutions or the same suggested solutions that, create a circular, sort of argument that just goes round and round, and we see it again pop up years later. And I think primarily that part of that notion is that people aren't being given those critical thinking skills, those creative thinking skills to take a problem, to take a thing, a challenge, and put creative ideas and creative thinking to that issue. Those are all skills and approaches that are taught in a good art and design education in the primary, in the secondary, and the college levels. So we'll take a break here. Now I'd like to talk a little bit more about why I think art and design education is maybe one of the most important majors that exist today. As a college educator, I know that if we are going to continue to have schools that have students who believe in art as a career, as art as a life choice, as creative thinkers, we need strong mentors in the primary and secondary levels of education to tell students that have those talents, to have those creative skills, that there is a world out there for them, that they can go into the world and have a career in art and be, designers, can be painters, can be sculptors, and really make a difference in the quality of life for the community, to make changes in the community through design, and just improve and the culture as a whole through those statements. We've all become too familiar with the increasing divisions, the increasing hostilities that we sense on the news and things going through there, with the idea that, and this is in a more global sense, that other people have different ideas. We have shut ourselves off to this black and white thing, that the one person's idea is right and the other's is wrong, and not allowing the opportunity for people to speak their different viewpoints, their different ideas. And I think that is an area where we see, for the general population, especially in the primary and secondary, where all students are taking art education, that creative thinking is what makes us interesting, different points of view, being able to put different ideas to the same problem and see those problems, disappear, to come to compromises, come to solutions that work for everyone. So creative thinking isn't just in the pure artist world. Creative thinking is an approach to design, it's an approach to industrial engineering, math. Any facet of life is improved if a student is trained in a way that they're allowed to bring creative thinking to it. Art is also one of those areas that brings people together, that breaks down the ethnic and racial divides and gives us an area that we can come together and celebrate. So all these things are important, so important today, I think, in our communities, and why I think this, as a art and design education major, the students that are pursuing that career are going to play such an important role in our culture in the future. Once you leave our campus, after 2 years, you'll go down to the Brooklyn campus. And at the Brooklyn campus, they have a very engaging, active art and design education program. And your classes will be, depending on your focus, whether it be fine arts, ComD, communication design, that is. Your classes in those areas will be laid out for you in a certain sense. You'll have some choices and electives, but you'll also have your design and education, art and design education classes, which will give you deeper into theoretical and developing ideas in art education. You will design your own programs. You will work with students in the community. You'll have an opportunity to grow and expand your practice on how you are going to move into your professional career. Now, Pratt has two directions you can take there. You can take the 4-year program, which will get you a BFA in art and design education. But Pratt also offers a 5-year program, which will get you your BFA and then an MA in art and design education. The benefit of that is that most schools most schools require that you have your master's to move up in the program in their school. And in this case, you will have your master's in 5 years rather than going into another 2-year master's degree after you've earned your BFA. Pratt will also help you with all the things you need to do to get your certification, programs or tests you'll have to take. All this will be laid out for you. Now, the benefit, again, of going through a New York school and a school of the quality of Pratt is that a New York teaching certification is a very rigorous and strong certification that many schools or many states, I think it's 36 to 40 states, accept as certification in their states. So in case you, after school, you decide you're going to move to another location, you can take that certification and chances are very good that it'll be accepted there. And if it even isn't, if it's in one of those other states that it doesn't transfer to, the quality that it speaks of means that you'll probably be able to pass their certification test with relative ease. And so you'll get good training, you'll have a lot of time to work in the studio, develop your skills, and do the things that you really do enjoy doing. I can think of several of our alumni now that I'm still in contact with who are in the teaching field and are doing very well, not only as art educators, but also as artists. Currently, one of our majors, Brittany Miller in New York City, is not only working a full-time job as an art educator, but I think she has had 4 or 5 one-person exhibitions in the past year. So she's a prolific producer of art, and so she was really enjoying both her artistic expression and her art education expression. So I think it's very rewarding. I think it does well. Another alumni of ours is head of a private program up in Norwich, Connecticut. Others, in fact, I think there's a small group of them in New York City that are teaching inside the city, at the similar program. So, and usually when you see that, it's because one person started there, and the quality of that person brought them to, other people from not only the same program, but the same history. So in conclusion, if you decide to go into an art and design education major, I think you'll find our program very strong. We're a little smaller than the Pratt Brooklyn campus. Well, actually, we're a lot smaller. Our campus has about 200 students, and you've probably seen this through some of the other media promotional materials that we put on there. But as an art educator, I think that smaller school, the personal attention you'll get on our campus translates well to someone who is going to be an art educator, because they will know how to communicate through the fantastic faculty that we have here. Know how to communicate better to an individual student, to a group of students, and because they'll have experienced it on our campus. And I think it's exciting too at that second level when you move down to the Brooklyn campus, where you start to work in a larger environment, that you have the strength of your convictions that have been built through the 2-year foundation on our campus, and then you're bringing it to this larger program that you can move right into, build a a bigger community and, you know, work with a different group of students than you may have become familiar or comfortable with in the city of Utica. So if you have any further questions on it, feel free to reach out to our admissions team. They'll give you any information you may need, or you can go on the internet and find me. Again, my name's Ken Marchione, and you can send me an email, and I'll try to respond to you as quickly as possible with any answers that you may need. Thank you for your time.